The gender reveal cannon wasn't filled with pink or blue confetti. It was filled with shredded printouts of every single text message my husband had sent to my best friend for the past 6 months. As the scraps of their affair rained down like toxic snow on our horrified guests, I picked up the little microphone for the party speeches. My voice didn't even shake. "Well," I said, looking right at my husband, Liam, his face a perfect mask of confusion and horror. "It's a boy. And it's also a divorce." You're probably wondering how a 7 months pregnant woman, grieving the very recent death of her father, ends up orchestrating something so theatrical. Believe me, I was wondering the same thing. I'm not a dramatic person. I'm the person who apologizes when someone else bumps into me. But when you're pushed far enough, you don't just fall. You learn to fly. Or, in my case, you learn to load a confetti cannon with receipts. It all started with a missed doctor's appointment. Let's rewind about a year. Life was, for the most part, perfect. Or at least, a version of it. I had Liam, my college sweetheart. He was handsome, steady, the kind of guy who remembered your coffee order and always held the door open. We had a nice little house in the suburbs, 2 dogs, and a 5-year plan. I was a graphic designer working from home, and he was an architect at a decent firm. Then, 2 life-altering things happened in the same week. I found out I was pregnant, and my dad was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. I was living in this weird fog, you know? It was this bizarre whiplash of emotions. I'd be staring at this grainy ultrasound picture, my heart just bursting with love for this tiny little bean, and then my phone would ring. It would be my mom, crying because dad was having a bad day and my world would just crater. Joy and grief were living in the same room, and they were not getting along. Liam was supposed to be my rock. And in the beginning, he was. He held me when I cried. He went with me to my dad's chemo appointments. He'd rub my feet and tell me we'd get through it together. My best friend, Jessica, was also my other rock. Jess and I had been inseparable since kindergarten. She was the godmother to my future child, the keeper of all my secrets, the sister I never had. She was over at our house constantly, bringing food, helping me set up the nursery, and giving Liam a break. "You two are my angels," I told them one night, my head on Liam's shoulder and my hand linked with Jessica's. "I literally couldn't do this without you." The irony of that statement is so thick now I could choke on it. The first crack in the foundation appeared when I was about 5 months pregnant. It was the big anatomy scan, the one where they count all the fingers and toes. It was a huge deal. My dad was having a relatively good day, and he was so excited to hear about it. Liam had promised, sworn up and down, he wouldn't miss it for the world. An hour before the appointment, he called. "Babe, I am so sorry," he said, his voice strained. "This huge deadline just got moved up. My boss is breathing down my neck. There's no way I can get out of here." I was crushed. The pregnancy hormones didn't help. I cried, but I also tried to be the cool, understanding wife. I told him it was okay, that I understood work was crazy. I went to the appointment alone, trying to memorize every detail the technician pointed out so I could tell him later. I found out we were having a boy. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried, half from happiness, half from the lonely ache of him not being there. That night, he came home with flowers and my favorite takeout. He apologized profusely. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Why wouldn't I? A couple of days later, I was scrolling through Instagram. A mutual acquaintance, someone on the fringe of our friend group, had posted a story. It was a group shot at a happy hour downtown. And right there, in the back, unmistakable, was Liam. He had his arm slung casually around someone's shoulder. It was Jessica. The timestamp on the photo was from the exact time he was supposed to be at my doctor's appointment. My blood ran cold. I couldn't breathe. I showed him the phone, my hand trembling. He didn't even flinch. "Oh my God, babe, it's not what it looks like," he said, rushing to my side. "Jessica called me right after I spoke to you. She knew how bummed I was about missing the scan, and she just dragged me out for one drink to get my mind off it." I was a wreck. She was just being a good friend. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jessica. "Hey, Chloe. Heard the scan went amazing and it's a boy. So thrilled for you guys. Liam told me he felt so awful for missing it, so I made him grab a quick beer with me and some of Sarah's work friends. Hope you don't mind, he just needed to vent. You know how he hates to burden you when you're already so stressed. See you tomorrow. It was so perfectly packaged. So plausible. They had their story straight. They made me feel like I was the crazy one for even questioning it. Jessica was just being a good friend to both of us. Liam was just trying not to burden me. I was the pregnant, grieving, hormonal mess who was overreacting. I apologized to him. I actually apologized. The gaslighting had begun, and I was too deep in the fog to even see it. Things kept escalating in tiny, almost unnoticeable ways. My dad's health started to decline rapidly. He was in and out of the hospital. I was spending most of my days there, holding his hand, reading to him, trying to soak up every last second. I needed Liam. I needed my husband. But he was always busy. He'd say he was working late, but I'd call his office and they'd say he left hours ago. He'd say he was running errands, but the errands would take 4 hours. One night, my mom called me in a panic. Dad had taken a turn for the worse. The doctors said it might be time. I called Liam, sobbing hysterically. You need to get to the hospital. Now, I choked out. I'm on my way, he promised. I'm leaving right now. I love you. He didn't show up for 3 hours. 3 hours. I sat by my father's bedside, holding his frail hand, watching him fade, and all I could think was, where is he? When he finally walked in, he looked flustered. He mumbled something about traffic and a fender bender. But there was no scratch on his car. And as he leaned in to kiss my forehead, I smelled it. Faint, but unmistakable. It was Jessica's perfume. The expensive one I'd bought her for her last birthday. I felt this cold, hollow feeling in my chest. It wasn't even anger yet, it was just a deep, chilling dread. My dad was dying, right in front of me, and my husband smelled like my best friend. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My world was already falling apart. I couldn't bear to pull out the last remaining Jenga block. My dad passed away 2 days later. Liam held my hand at the funeral. Jessica stood on my other side, her arm around my shoulders, weeping. They were the perfect picture of support. I felt like I was watching a movie of my own life. The breaking point, the moment the fog finally lifted, came about a week after the funeral. I was at my parents' house, helping my mom with the awful task of sorting through my dad's things. I found an old iPad in his bedside table. It was one I had given him years ago so we could FaceTime. I turned it on, planning to wipe it. It connected to the Wi-Fi. And then, the screen lit up. A green text bubble appeared at the top of the screen. It was from Jessica. The preview read, "Is she still moping around? I'm so bored. Come over." My heart stopped. The iPad was still logged into my Apple ID, which meant it was linked to Liam's iMessage account. My thumb moved before my brain could process it. I opened the messages. And there it was. My entire life, a lie, spelled out in blue and green bubbles. 6 months of it. It started innocently enough. Chloe is so stressed lately. Yeah, it's hard to see her like this. Then it escalated. I just need a break from all the sadness. Come over. I'll make you feel better. There were pictures. Explicit ones. There were messages about me. The hormones are making her crazy. She's so focused on her dad, she doesn't even see me anymore. God, she looks like a whale. I can't even look at her. That one was from my husband. About his pregnant wife. They mocked my grief. They complained about having to deal with me. They planned their future. I saw the receipts for the expensive necklace Liam had bought. It wasn't for his mom. It was for Jessica. I saw a picture of her wearing it, captioned, "He knows how to treat a girl." But the worst, the absolute soul-shattering worst, were the messages from the night my dad was dying. The 3 hours I was waiting for him. Liam, stuck at the hospital. This is taking forever. Jessica, poor you. I'm waiting. Liam, almost over. Then I can finally come see you. Jessica, hurry. I have a surprise for you. He sent that text while he was supposed to be driving to comfort his grieving wife, whose father was taking his last breaths. He was in a rush to get back to her. My grief was an inconvenience. My dying father was a scheduling conflict. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. It was like all the grief and all the betrayal just froze inside me, turning into this solid block of ice in my chest. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't going to break. I was going to burn their world to the ground. They had taken everything from me. My husband, my best friend, my dignity, the sanctity of my father's final days. I was going to take one thing from them, their carefully constructed fantasy. They didn't deserve a quiet breakup. They didn't deserve a private conversation. They deserved to be exposed in the most public, humiliating way I could imagine. And then I remembered. The baby shower. The one Jessica had been planning with such glee. The one all our friends and family were coming to. It was in 5 days. Perfect. I went home and played the part of the grieving widow's daughter and exhausted pregnant wife. I let Liam hold me. I let Jessica bring me soup and tell me how strong I was. I smiled and nodded while inside. I was a general planning a war. I spent the next 2 days in a feverish haze of preparation. I screenshotted every single message, every picture, every damning piece of evidence. I created a document, a meticulous timeline of their affair. I took it to Kinko's and printed out 10 copies. Then I spent an entire night with a paper shredder, turning 9 of those copies into confetti. The 10th copy? I mailed that to the best divorce lawyer in the city. The day before the party, I called the event supply company Jessica had hired. I told them there was a change of plans for the gender reveal canon. I explained that I had my own special, sentimental confetti I wanted to use. I met the delivery guy in a parking lot and paid him $200 in cash to make the switch. He looked at me like I was insane. He wasn't wrong. The day of the baby shower arrived. It was held in a beautiful rented garden space. It was exactly the kind of party Jessica would plan, over the top, pastel-colored, and all about her showing off what a wonderful, supportive friend she was. My in-laws were there, Liam's family, all our mutual friends, my own heartbroken mother. I floated through the party like a ghost. Everyone kept telling me how brave I was to even be there. Liam and Jessica kept exchanging these smug, pitying looks over my head. They thought they were getting away with it. They had no idea they were walking into their own public execution. Finally, the moment came. The main event. Jessica, beaming, brought out the giant, gaudily decorated cannon. She and Liam stood on either side of it, ready to do the honors. She handed me a small microphone. "Chloe, do you want to say a few words before the big reveal?" she chirped. Oh, I did. I took the microphone. I looked around at the sea of expectant faces. My voice was surprisingly steady. "Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. It means the world to me, especially after this past month." I let a tear roll down my cheek. It wasn't hard to summon. The only person I wish was here today is my dad. He was so excited to be a grandpa. He would have loved this. The crowd murmured in sympathy. Liam put a comforting hand on my back. I wanted to set him on fire. But I continued, turning to face them, a small, cold smile on my lips. I know that even though my dad isn't here, I am just so lucky to have my 2 biggest supporters by my side. My husband, Liam, and my best friend, Jessica. I literally could not have gotten through this without you two. Their smiles were so self-satisfied. So proud. "Go on," I said, gesturing to the cannon. "Let's find out what we're having." They counted down. 3, 2, 1. Pop. The cannon exploded. But instead of pink or blue, a blizzard of shredded white paper filled the air, drifting slowly down onto the manicured lawn, into people's hair, onto the cake. At first, there was just confusion. Then, guests started picking up the pieces. A woman near the front gasped. An old college friend of ours stared at a strip of paper in his hand, his eyes wide. I saw my mother-in-law read a piece, and the color drained from her face. People were starting to read the story of the affair in the cheater's own words. That's when I delivered the final lines. "Well," I said into the microphone, the silence in the garden now deafening. "It's a boy, and it's also a divorce." I turned my gaze to Jessica, whose face was a Picasso painting of shock and horror. "And Jessica? You can keep the baby shower gifts. Looks like you'll be playing stepmom sooner than you thought." Chaos erupted. Absolute, beautiful chaos. Liam just stood there, frozen, as his mother started screaming at him. Jessica burst into tears and ran, tripping over a baby blue balloon arch on her way out. My friends rushed to my side, wrapping me in a protective circle, while my mom just walked over and hugged me, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. The divorce was brutally fast. My lawyer, armed with my little printout, made sure Liam didn't get a damn thing except his own clothes and the debt from Jessica's necklace. His family was so ashamed, they basically disowned him. He and Jessica tried to make a go of it, but a relationship built on lies and public humiliation doesn't exactly have a strong foundation. I heard they broke up less than a year later, after he lost his job because the story, of course, got everywhere. 2 months after the party, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby boy. I named him Daniel after my dad. Holding him for the first time, I realized that all the love I thought I'd lost wasn't gone. It had just been transferred to this perfect little person. So yeah, that's the story of how my son's gender reveal party turned into my divorce announcement. It was messy, it was ugly, and it was the hardest time of my life. But looking back, I don't regret a thing. They built a cage of lies around me, and I blew the doors off with a confetti cannon. My son and I, we're thriving. We're happy. And we're free. And let me tell you, the drama didn't end there. If you think this was bad, you should hear what happened when Liam's mom tried to sue me for grandparents' rights. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because that story is a whole other level of crazy.